Welcome to Political Brick. I'm your host, Mark Puckett. Every single day of our lives, we are inundated with views, opinions, and biases from those around us. Now, whether we hear these things from family or friends or coworkers, on the radio, TV, at town halls, or religious gatherings, we have a literal mountain of information to sift through. And it's fucking exhausting. So why do we even dedicate our very precious time to even giving a shit? Now, I ask myself that very question almost daily. The answer gets even more elusive when you begin to see others trying with all their might to convert the people around them to their way of thinking. What the hell is the payoff? Why do they even care? How does it benefit them if Joe Blow does end up becoming an advocate of their philosophy? Whatever the motivation, the exchanges can be seriously brutal. Now, I don't claim to have all the answers, and in all reality, it isn't going to benefit me much to figure it out anyway. I'll just leave that type of investigative inquiry to those that have a passion for it. What I have managed to salvage in all my introspection on the topic is that people are complex. They're driven by many different reasons, and most of them are seeking philosophical allies. People who prop them up, people who provide them with validation, acceptance, and reinforcement. But the one thing that I consistently find lacking is purity of principle. Let me give you a few examples. First up, politicians. Politicians are notorious for giving stump speeches about how they plan to fight for you, or the people, or their constituents, and then as soon as the election is over and they settle into that nice new cushy office in DC, they can't even remember what it's like to be a working stiff. They're like herpes. Just when you think you've got them under control, another batch bubbles up. Not that I know anything about that, but this is true of all the parties, not just those other guys. Second up, religious types. We constantly hear awesome things like love thy neighbor and blessed are the peacemakers, and while I understand that we are all flawed in one respect or another, these are the very people who seem to remember the least when it comes to actually living a life of love and peace. Condemnation, war, hate, and fear all seem to be the real hallmarks of these folks who cherry pick and contextually apply their religion whenever it suits them. And let's also remember that these people talk to imaginary friends that live in outer space. It's kind of hard to be pure of principle when their supreme leader can send new instructions telepathically at any given time. Next, race warriors. I constantly hear all the rhetoric about equality this and equality that when it comes to race, and as a matter of fact, I agree with a large majority of the arguments for equality amongst the races. The problem begins to reveal itself when some races have full and complete latitude to speak ill of the others with no societal backlash, and that's not equality. And as far as I can tell, all that fake outrage from the pundits is weak and completely transparent, so just stop. I also think it's really hard to be racist if you own a colored television. Zing! And while we're talking about pundits, let me wrap on the media. The people who are supposed to simply keep us informed and abreast of what's going on, they've now resorted to professional sodomy. Not that a little anal action isn't awesome, but when you have so-called journalists hashing out squabbles with each other on air, we've relegated a vital public service that's supposed to keep the powers that be in check to a cesspool of shitheads in suits. The principal duties of a journalist is to seek the truth, report the facts, inform the public, and expose injustice. But now all we get is agenda, propaganda, and spin. It's all philosophical Bloodsport. It's you against everyone else, everyone vying for your political, religious, and societal fad attention. These people talk about wanting you to think for yourself and develop your own view of the world around you. At the exact same time, they're creating plenty of barriers and diversions so that you ultimately come out the other end thinking exactly like they do. So let me be frank. I encourage anarchy in all things, in our thought process, our politics, our religion, in our race relations, and our media. I want there to be vigorous discussions, intellectual discourse, and rational debate. But what we cannot have is a blind allegiance to these elites who would prefer us to never have an independent thought. They don't want you to be thinking and disseminating information or flexing your mental muscles whatsoever. They'd have you believe that they've done all the research and have already boiled down the options. Well, I call bullshit. These pseudo-intellectuals and half-wit jackwagons are just as lost as the rest of us. So I won't presume to know what's best for you or leave you with some profound nugget of insight to ponder, but what I will do is ask you to remember that in the fight for mental independence, question everything and everyone. I'm your host, Mark Puckett. Thanks for stopping here at Political Brick, and I'll see you guys again next time.